What's up, internet? Just hanging out with my garlic here. Yeah, today we're going to talk about mulching, the benefits of mulching, why really today you can't garden without mulching. So mulching is the act of covering the top of the soil with something, be it organic matter. There's plastic mulches, which Big Green likes to use. Little Green, like us, we try and avoid, as well as living mulches, ground cover. Um, Anything that you can stop that top layer of soil from drying out is a benefit. It's a benefit to your plant. It's a benefit to your garden, and it's a benefit to the planet. When you think about the biggest carbon source on the planet, you think of forests. And if you were to go into your local forest, you look on the forest floor. What is it? It's not dry dirt. It's layers and layers and layers of organic matter. And it's this organic matter that is the lifeblood of the forest. It feeds the existing trees. It holds moisture. It's a breeding ground for the next generation of trees to germinate. It provides cover for soil organisms. It provides nutrients. It does everything, and it can do the same for your garden. Yeah, so what I'm going to do today is I have several, probably about 20 tomato plants in buckets that I haven't mulched yet. And so I've cut the front lawn because I often just use grass clippings or leaves, or I'll shred up branches, whatever you got. Anything that's organic matter, even newspaper works great. Anything to suppress the weeds, hold in the moisture. Green grass will shed nutrients back into the soil. Whatever you can use will work. And so today we got the front lawn clippings. I'll show you how I mulch some bare soil, and you'll see the results. I'll post a video in a couple weeks, and those tomato plants will be huge. They'll be 3 times the size. So here we are. I'm out in the baking hot sun. I don't know why I always choose to work in the hottest part of the day, but it's probably good for the plants that we're going to get some mulch on them. But I've got these buckets right here. All bare soil. The soil's just drying out. The active layer is getting lower and lower and lower, and you want the active layer at the surface. You can see in the bed in front of them, the plants, they're about 10 times the size. And that's because I got layers and layers and layers of mulch. So let's get these guys mulched up. Yeah, and then probably give them watering too. All right, so here we go. This is the mulch we're going to use today. All it is just my front lawn cut up. Yeah, pretty basic stuff. We're just going to layer it on nice and thick, and then give it a good watering so it becomes a nice top layer. So as you can see, we've done a couple here. Pretty easy stuff, put about an inch on. You do have to be careful with lush green grass. It can actually burn your plants. If you ever had a pile of freshly cut grass that you left, out in your backyard or whatever, it can actually start to smoke. That's how hot it gets. So you do have to be careful with pure green grass. It can burn. Other than that, just layer it on nice and simple, like you would another layer of soil. Once you're done your bed, your pot, or even your garden plot, just give it a good watering to let it sort of settle down and become, a true mulch, another layer, a protective layer, for the roots of your precious vegetables. that wasn't too bad. We basically mulched nearly 20 large buckets of tomato plants in probably less than 6 minutes. Probably took me 15-20 minutes to cut the front lawn, but easy stuff. Yeah, so that brings me to the 4 points of why you need to mulch in your garden, and what it can do for you, and how it can, increase your production and save you time. Reason number 1, it saves you water. It saves you a lot of water. Between 12 and 2 in the afternoon, when that sun is perpendicular to your plants, it's just evaporating like crazy. And if you're able to cover that top of that soil and keep it moist, you'll be watering a fraction of what you would if you just left bare soil. And there's a historical example of this. I don't know if you guys know your history, but in the 30s, the Great Depression, the Dust Bowl, that was caused by improper agriculture. They farmed the land, they tilled it, they rotivated it, they turned it upside down, and they planted the plants. It was great for the first crop, but there was no organic layer on the top. There was nothing to hold the moisture in, nothing to hold the integrity of the soil. And so after they pulled that first crop, it just all turned to dust and blew away in the wind. That's an example of almost 90 years ago, and Big Green still hasn't learned. So, fortunately, the organic movement, we're a little more progressive than that. Yeah, so, you'll go from having to water every day in the summer to watering maybe once a week, once every 4 or 5 days. It's a huge savings in water and your time. What is the main time consumer of being a gardener, or a farmer, or even your ornamentals? It's watering. It's watering in the summer, watering twice a day, once in the morning, once before you go to bed. You mulch those veggies, you're watering, once a week. It's really the way to go. The second reason is temperature moderation. At the heat of the day, you're baking that soil to, I've temp gunned the top of my soil at 115 Fahrenheit. Plants can't live in that. The roots certainly can't live in that. You do an inch of mulch and you keep it, very moist. The hottest day, you stick your finger in there and the soil is still cool. It's still cool to the touch. Conversely, you get a cold night, the mulch acts like a little blanket for your plants, keeps them all nice and warm, moderates the temperature. Plants will grow phenomenally with those conditions. That's how they're supposed to grow. They're not supposed to grow in bare soil. Yeah, so it seems like a fairly obvious point, mulch your soil, it regulates the temperature. That's fine, but I'll give you an example of what you've probably seen in your garden, and you won't realize that this is the reason why. A hot day, your tomato or your pepper plant starts flagging. And so it might not be flagging or wilting because of the lack of water. It might be doing that as a defense mechanism against the heat. It's closing up its stoma, it's closing up all its pores to help keep the water in. Not because there isn't water available to the roots, but because the plant can't live in that range of temperatures, so it's shutting down, just like a person would, or a dog in a hot car, or some terrible situation like that. And then what's your solution to that? Oh, I got to give it more water. So you give it more water. A week later, your tomato plant starts turning yellow. Well, why is it yellow? I've been watering it the whole time. Well, because you overwatered and you washed all the nutrients and the goodness and the bacteria out of the soil. So, yes, mulch to regulate temperatures. And that brings me to the third point. It's free fertilizer. If you're mulching green leaves and green grass, that is pure nitrogen, pure slow release nitrogen for your plants. And it's organic. If you're growing it on your property and you're not spraying your lawn or spraying your trees, that is organic fertilizer that's slow release. You won't have to go to the store and, buy the packaged fertilizers for your tomatoes and your peppers and stuff. It's free and it's right there, and it's what the plants need. It's another time saver and another money saver. So why wouldn't you do it? So this brings us to our last point and how it all ties together. mulching, it's sort of the centerpiece. It's the precursor to no-till farming and lasagna gardening. Sort of this whole new wave movement of how to garden, not only in your backyard but for big green. And mulching is the key to it. As we'll get to in later videos, you'll see that it all revolves around proper mulching, and it's really the way to go. It's so easy, as you saw with the planting the tomatoes. I didn't even touch on the fact that now you don't have to get rid of your grass clippings. You just mulch them onto your veggies, and you get better veggies that you don't have to water as often, that you don't have to buy fertilizer for. It's like, why wouldn't you do it? It's so easy. Anyway, I think that wraps up my little mulching rant. Hopefully it wasn't too preachy, and hopefully you learned something. Or maybe if you got something to teach me, write it in the comments below. I'd love to learn more about mulching. I've only been doing it for 6 years, so it might seem like a long time, but some people have been farming their whole life. So I'd love to learn more, and then I could teach it to the viewers more. So yeah, hit subscribe if you're a mulcher, and if you're not a mulcher, hit subscribe anyway and become a mulcher, because it's the way to garden. All right, see you.